Sunday, November 17th, 2019. And this is the Pro and Con Show. I'm your host, Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show. So, I notice actually I use my hands a lot in the show. Hope that doesn't bother people, but that's me. So the show all about be better citizens. Focus on the facts, the who, the what, the where, the when. Try to look away from, try to avoid all the talk panels and all that stuff that present them as news, but it's really just opinion. A bunch of people talking about, well, what do you think it means? Who said what? Where did they say it? When? And, who, what, when, where, and how. Okay? Focus on the facts. Focus on the facts. The unfortunate thing is we have these 24-hour information streams that present themselves as news, but I don't know, 90% of it is opinion, and unfortunately biased opinion. Some of these information channels, so I'm not calling them news channels, information channels, even though they say they're news. I say they are opinion. You have opinion channels coming at you, and unfortunately some of those opinion channels have people with their own interests at heart, and so they make sure that whatever the information is that's flowing to you in that particular channel is the information that they want you to see, as opposed to just focusing on the facts, all the facts, the who, the what, the where, and the when, right? So, pro and con show. So again, looking at the pros and the cons of all the issues, and make sure we're open to listening to opposing views, because they may have information that we're ignorant to at this point. Today's show I call Success, and I just want to point out that if you look at the ills that we suffer in our society. So if you think about, for example, political corruption, or the fact that our representatives are not doing a great job representing us in government. I think most Americans feel that way. Well, we have no one to blame but ourselves as a species, and as citizens, of course, and members of our community. But it all comes down to, in that particular case, now we'll cover an example or two more, definition of success. So our definition of success, generally, in our species, okay, for years, for hundreds and thousands of years, definition is the accumulation of wealth, influence, and power. So what does that mean for our representatives in government? Well, they're trying their best to accumulate wealth, influence, and power. Well, that has very little to do with taking care of you and I on a daily basis, trying to make sure that we're spending money on the right things in our government, or that we can get affordable housing, affordable food, electricity, water, all the things that are important to us, for our survival. They have no interest in helping us in any way, shape, or form, because they're focused on accumulation of wealth, influence, and power. And so and Mr. Trump was, it was eye-opening at the instant that he was inaugurated. Within just a couple of days, he was already starting his re-election campaign. He was already stumping for re-election. And, if you're voted in at the House of Representatives, your term is only 2 years. Well, with the way the election cycle works, you basically get elected, and then you're just trying to get elected. You don't, your focus isn't on the right thing to do with spending or whatever. Your focus is continuously on, how do I get reelected? How do I get reelected? How do I get reelected? Because you got a 2-year term, and the way that we elect people, if you're in the House of Representatives, oh my God, forget about it. And then you have guys like for example, Mitch McConnell is the majority leader in the Senate, and he touts himself as what's he say? He's the Grim Reaper. That's what I was looking for. He says, "I'm the Grim Reaper. Nothing's going to get through this Senate without me. Forget about it." And so, he basically has done two things. One is he shut down a whole bunch of potential appointments to various judicial positions that were offered by the Obama administration, including one or two Supreme Court justices, because he just said no. I'm in a place, he had been elected, and he's like, I'm the majority, and I say no. And then there's a bunch of legislation. Some of it is very popular amongst us, the general citizenship. There's legislation around, common sense gun legislation and stuff like that. No. Why? Because the Democrats proposed it. I'm a Republican. No. And that's it. And just so there's one person. So why is he doing all this stuff? And because he is showing wealth, influence, and power, right? He's demonstrating it. This is why he has run and been reelected multiple times in the Senate, and has maneuvered into the majority leadership role in the Senate, is because he can exercise power. And a bunch of bad stuff is happening because of this, and it's because we have the wrong definition of success. You look at corporate America. Let's talk about that, and then I'll finish up for today. So corporate America. So, if you're a publicly held company, and even privately, but publicly held companies, even privately held companies, and you're either in senior management or you're in ownership position, and what are you trying to do? Well, you're trying to accumulate wealth, influence, and power. So in the particular thing of business, it's mostly wealth, although there is some influence and power associated with it too. So what do you try to do? Well, you try to make the companies bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's more stuff that you're controlling. That's more influence and power. And you can demand higher and higher compensation, because that's wealth. And then what do? Well, you strip out of the businesses, a lot of the, high quality, good paying jobs and stuff like that. You get rid of them to whatever extent. You take your manufacturing, you move it to low cost areas, or you automate a bunch of it, right? And so why do you do all that? Because your wealth increases, and wealth, influence, and power. And what happens to thousands and thousands of people that could benefit if you weren't driven by our definition of success? Well, we'd have good jobs, and there'd be a lot less automation, and a lot less sending of jobs to low cost labor areas, and a lot less forcing workers to use chemicals that might hurt them, and it goes on and on and on, because we have the wrong definition of success. So replace your definition. I talked to a lot of people about this, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds by now. Redefine success in terms of service to the planet, service to the people. So someone has a big mansion now. I say, well, that's nice. Are you housing a couple of hundred homeless people in there? Because if you're not, I'm sorry, I'm not impressed. There's these, multi-million-dollar, cars that you can buy, and somebody buys one of those driving down the street or whatever, or they just have it sitting out in front of their mansion just so I have one of these. I'm sorry, I'm not impressed. I'm sorry, I just am not impressed. I'm gonna throw a dart at Jay Leno. Jay Leno is a comedian. He built up a lot of money over time. He's a star on NBC, the Tonight Show. And I mean, he's a very amicable person from what I understand. But he's got, garages and garages and garages of cars. Well, that's kind of entertaining and stuff like that. But Jay, sorry, I'm not impressed. I mean, it's nice that you're having fun, but couldn't you spend some of that money on helping the homeless? Couldn't you spend some of that money on making sure that there's clean water in Flint, Michigan? Couldn't you spend some of your time advocating for some of these people instead of having fun, driving the latest car that you've acquired? I'm sorry, I'm just not impressed. Folks, if you want our lives to be better as a species, as a planet, redefine success in your life. Now, the miracle is you don't need permission from your wife. You don't need permission from your parents. You don't need permission from your employer. You don't need legislation passed. You don't need the government to tell you to redefine success in your life. You just have to do it. Redefine success in your life in terms of service to the planet and the people on it. For Michael James Ott, this is the Pro and Con Show, or the Pro and Con Show. This is Michael James Ott. I don't know. In any case, hope you're having a great day out there. Hope you're listening and are willing to at least think about redefining success and talking to other people about that. And until the next show, bye for now.